And now it's time for Perhaps, but maybe not. Nobody knows for sure who or what the ShadowMan is, but it may be the ghost of a man who was convicted of stalking and kidnapping children. He was caught at a home he had broken into a few days before and was being dragged off to the gallows after his trial when he overpowered the guards and ran into the woods. A huge search was organized and the entire forest was thoroughly searched, but he was never found. A few years later, children started going missing again, and some people thought that it must be him. Their suspicions were put to rest, however, after one of the missing children came back. The 5-year-old boy was questioned, and during a police interview he revealed that he was captured by a ShadowMan with big red eyes and a funny hat. Since then, there have been many more reports of this ShadowMan. The shadow is described as being a shadow of a tall man with a bowler's hat and glowing red eyes. He can assume almost any form he chooses and slip through any door. He will plague children with nightmares about a strange man in a bowler's hat grabbing them and taking them away to an old hut. After a few days, he will creep into the child's room and stare down at them with his glowing red eyes until they wake up. The child will be petrified with fear, and that is when the ShadowMan will whisk them off, and the child will never be seen again. The scariest part is that he could be anywhere, at any time, and you can never be sure if he is there, watching you. So, is the ShadowMan some ethereal demon from a dark netherworld? Or just some creepy pervert in black? Perhaps, but maybe not. We interrupt this program to bring you the special Nailsin News Bulletin. Man admits ghost did not plant meth in his home. Hello, I'm Mr. Nailsin. A man who surmised that a ghost may have planted methamphetamine in his Louisiana home eventually admitted that he, and not an otherworldly force, was responsible for the drug being in his residence. Michael Ottenberry, 60, was arrested in October after police arrived at his home in response to a purported assault. Ottenberry, cops say, had called 911 to claim that he had been stabbed on the head by an axe. When officers arrived at Ottenberry's West Monroe home, they determined that he was not suffering from any axe wounds, and there were no assailants in sight. Cops did, however, spot in plain view on a nightstand a brown paper bag containing approximately 1 gram of suspected methamphetamine. A subsequent pat-down of Ottenberry yielded a pill bottle containing an additional gram of meth. Quizzed by cops, Ottenberry said that a ghost or intruders planted the drugs before climbing out a bedroom window. This claim, investigators determined, was not accurate. Charged with narcotics possession and making a false report to police, Ottenberry subsequently pleaded guilty to the felony drug charge. He was sentenced to serve 6 months at hard labor, which is Louisiana for time in state custody, where nobody is breaking rocks in the hot sun. Ottenberry, whose lengthy rap sheet includes prior drug callers, was released from the Wichita Correctional Center 2 weeks ago. This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin. And now, back to your program. And now, it's time for Perhaps, but maybe not. Across the world, a new drug-resistant infection has appeared. The New York Times reported that an elderly man was admitted to Mount Sinai Hospital's branch in Brooklyn for abdominal surgery. After getting his blood tested, it was revealed that he was infected with the Candida auris, a fungus that was recently discovered but has been identified in patients around the world. The fungus is most deadly to those with already weak immune systems. The elderly man, who was not named by the Times, was isolated in the intensive care unit, but died 90 days later. What makes his case so frightening is that after his death, doctors tested his room and discovered the fungus was everywhere.
Everything was positive. The walls, the bed, the doors, the curtains, the phones, the sink, the whiteboard, the poles, the pump.
Dr. Scott Lauren, president of the Brooklyn branch, told the Times.
The mattress, the bed rails, the canister holes, the window shades, the ceiling, everything in the room was positive.
The hospital had to use special cleaning equipment and even had to remove part of the ceiling and floors to get rid of the fungus. Reports of CRS have come from Venezuela, Spain, Great Britain, India, Pakistan, and South Africa, according to the Times. In the U.S., patients in Illinois and New Jersey have also been reported, as well as others in New York, like the man you just told us about. The Centers for Disease Control said it identified 51 clinical case patients and 61 screening case patients in New York alone. Okay, well, so, yeah, New York's in the list. The CDC reported 45% of the clinical case patients died within 90 days. Further, in the same study, 98% of the clinical case patients were resistant to fluconazole, which is used to treat serious fungal infections such as meningitis. The strength and resistance of the infection led the CDC to deem CRS a serious threat and said it infected 3,400 and caused 220 deaths per year. The CDC also reported that the median age for the clinical case patients was 72, but that the ages of those infected ranged from 21 to 96 years. 51% of those infected were male, and all patients had serious concurrent medical conditions, such as needing mechanical ventilation or central venous catheters or gastrostomy tubes. Infections like CRS have been able to thrive due to the overuse of antibiotics. Yes, when they give you antibiotics, you need to take the full amount. Don't just quit after 5 pills. Jeez. Such overprescribing has reduced the effectiveness of the drugs, allowing once curable bacterial infections to thrive once again. Now, fungal infections are becoming resistant. Naturally, those at risk of these superbugs are newborns. Well, he said the range was 21 to 96, so, well. And the elderly, who generally have weaker immune systems. Yes, well, the world hasn't had a major global pandemic since the Spanish flu of 1918, so we're well overdue for one. So, could this be the beginning of a brand new pandemic? Well, yeah, it could be, but the title of the show is Perhaps, but maybe not.